Hey, my name is Kim. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would film sort of a different video today. I filmed videos in the past on some of my favorite TV shows. Since the strike has happened with actors and writers, there hasn't been a lot of new content out lately, so I've actually been reading more. And yeah, I know it's kind of funny, like I'm an English teacher, but I haven't always loved to read. I tend to like read when I need to for work. I used to read for pleasure, in my leisure time a lot, but after taking my B.Ed and B.A. degrees and being forced to read lots, it kind of turned me off from reading a bit. However, I've always read at least like a book or two a year. I just haven't really loved doing it because I have lots of little kids, you know, get interrupted a lot. But lately, just in the past few months, I have really started reading more, and I've actually, since January, I'm on my 9th book that I've read this year, which is more than I've read in a really long time. So I'm enjoying it. I thought I would share some of the things that have helped me enjoy reading again, share some of the books that I have read these last 2 months, and then share some books that I've bought and that I plan to read starting in March. So something that has helped me read a lot more is joining Facebook groups and discussing books. So there's a couple of groups that I've joined that I've really enjoyed, just discussing different books, and I've gotten a lot of recommendations on there. Everybody kind of hypes each other up with their reading, and so that's really helped a lot. Another thing that's helped has been being active on my Goodreads account. If you're familiar with IMDb for film, that's basically the same thing. I use Goodreads a lot to track what I'm reading, what I want to read. I keep a list of my to be read on there, and also what's the other thing, tracking my progress in books. For some reason, it's super helpful to me because I get overwhelmed with large tasks like reading a 300-page book. It's helpful to me to track it. Be like, okay, I'm on page 20, I am this percentage through. I'm on page 100, I am a third through. That really helps me. So even though I'm reading for fun, I do get overwhelmed with really long books, but that helps a lot. Another thing that helps is just taking the time to read every day. So I've been doing it instead of watching TV, and I will, even if I'm really tired, I try and read at least one chapter a night. Typically I read more than that, but one chapter minimum. And getting books that have short chapters really helps. So I can read like 5-10 pages or something here and there. But yeah, that helps a lot. I always try and have like a special little drink or treat when I sit down and read after the kids go to bed, just to help me look forward to it extra, if you know what I mean. And the last thing that I've done is I got Kindle Plus. So something I found with all this reading is it is expensive. Buying new books in Canada they're like $20-$25 each. It's crazy. And I do buy some books used, and I do use the library, but there's often wait times at the library. And you can't be picky when you're buying used books. So something that I got is a Kindle Plus subscription. So it's $9 a month, or $10, $9.99. And you get access to so many free books. And a lot of the books that are talked about in the Facebook groups I'm in are free on there, and they're awesome. And a lot of them are by independent self-published authors, and their books are amazing. So I'll talk about some of the series that I've been reading, but I just want to show you how I set this up. So I didn't want to go buy a new Kindle right away. I still might get one because I do prefer reading on an e-reader. I have a Kobo, but my Kobo is super old, and I'm not really able to get a lot of titles on it anymore. So instead of going and buying a Kindle for $100+, I pulled out my old iPad from retirement, and I got a blue light screen protector on it. I also wear blue light glasses when I read on this, or whenever I use the computer for a long time. And I set up the Kindle app on my iPad. So I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so here's my iPad. It is so old, it's from like 2014, but it still works fine. It just doesn't get a lot of titles on it. A lot of titles. It doesn't get many apps. Yeah, it works totally fine to use as a Kindle. I have my Goodreads app and my Kindle app. I do have Facebook on it as well, and Netflix. This is a super old version of Facebook, and I have Libby. So Libby, you can connect it to your library and put in your library card, and you can get free ebooks on there you can borrow them. So I use that. It's nice to have everything all together, because if I was using Libby on an e-reader, I would have to like connect it and transfer it using Overdrive, and sort of a pain, but it's nice to have everything right here. So here is a random book that I took out from one of my kids. I wanted to see if I could get it on my Kobo, and I couldn't. So, and yeah, my iPad's kind of slow because it's old. So I also have my Goodreads app on here, and so that's nice to have that all in one spot. I'll show you what the Goodreads app looks like. So I have my want to read. Oh, this is my want to read, but I go to my books. I have my want to read list here, my read, and this isn't every single book I've ever read, just some that I could think of, so Goodreads could get a feel for recommendations for me. And there's some books that I am currently reading. It's nice to use Goodreads to read reviews on books before you read it, so I love that. Here's the Kindle app, and I also have audiobooks on here too. So I do occasionally listen to audiobooks, but not super often. So here, I think you can put 20 books at a time on here. And then if you want to get more on top of that, you just have to return something. So this is a series I'm currently reading. Actually, I have to delete this because I finished it, but I'll show you what it looks like. Some of these I have on here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to read, like Into the Wolves Den. This author is known for writing kind of extreme books, so I don't know if I'm going to actually read that. But let me show you what it looks like reading on here. So there's a bit of a glare, but overall it's not too bad, especially if you're reading in the dark. So this works well for me. I like the size of it too. Still might get a Kindle, but for now, this works well. So here are some of the books that I have read, and some that I'm planning on reading, and I'll also put in here some that I have read that I've already returned to the library. So 2 that I started with this year were Bird Box and Mallory, which is the sequel to Bird Box. Holy crap. Those books are so much better than the movie. Like, I still think about certain scenes from them. I just really fell in love with the characters. The story is so creepy, and it's so different than the movie experience. Not being able to see the monster, it's totally a different experience reading about it versus seeing. It gets a little hokey in the Bird Box movie, but the novel was amazing. I'll talk about some of these other ones that I'm reading. I also read, I highly recommend Bird Box and Mallory. I also read Britney Spears' memoir, which was pretty good. It was a really quick read. I did enjoy that one though. And then I also read, there was another book that I don't have here, I think. That's right. The other one I read was Verity, which I was really intrigued by because it's supposed to be about this author who needs to finish the series of books another author started. And because the other author was in an accident and is no longer able to continue, spooky things happen when she finds a manuscript detailing some stuff that the other author never meant anyone to find. So that was a great book. I didn't realize it would be so spicy though. I have never read a Colleen Hoover book. And so yeah, just be aware that that's in it if you want to read it. But for the rest, so these are ones that I have bought. This one is a library book here that I'm currently reading. So this series, I saw it advertised on Facebook a lot. It's by a self-published Amazon author. Oh, I don't have these in order. I love these books. So it's about an EMP happening, and the US. It's just very detailed in the collapse of society. Like, it's 7 books. I've read 3, very slow. I think by the end of the 3rd one, we're 2 weeks in. So these happen at the same time, but they're 2 different character storylines, and then they combine in this book, and then they're combined for the rest. But in it, this woman has been kidnapped for 5 years, and when the EMP happens, she's actually released from where she's being held, and she's able to escape. She runs into a survivalist, and she also takes the dog of the guy who kidnapped her. And it's about them making sense of this whole apocalypse. But yeah, really good. This is about her husband and their son, and the town just kind of falling apart. This one is such a good book. This one is also very good. It combines the 2 storylines, and I like these books because there's not a lot of like swearing or really descriptive violence. It mentions things happening, but it doesn't go into gory details. I'm not huge on gory details, or, violence and swearing that is gratuitous. This is not like that. And so I really like these, and I love the descriptions in these books. Like, I'll put in here a couple of them, like the wind grabbed for her with icy fingers. Like I love imagery in my books, so I love that. The only thing I will say that I don't love about these books is sometimes the dialogue is a little bit cheesy. Not always, but occasionally, like, oh, are you going after the bad guys? Like, who says bad guys? But whatever. Excellent series. I'm slowly reading it and reading other things in between as well. I'm going to read the rest of the series on my iPad or Kindle. I hadn't realized that these were available when I first bought these, so I spent $75 on these books, not knowing that, or $65, not knowing that, but it's fine. I'll lend them out to people or maybe donate them to the library. The other book that I have read is The Marrow Thieves, and this is such an excellent book. I actually read it on Libby on my iPad, and it worked totally great, but I went and bought it because I'm planning on teaching it to my class. So this is a YA novel, but honestly, it reads a bit more mature. I would not recommend this for anyone, for kids who are under like 16. There are a couple F words and other swearing in it. There's a romance between two characters, but it's not descriptive because they're teenagers. All it explains is that, you know, they kiss a couple of times. So, but it's a really interesting book. It's post-apocalyptic. You might notice I love apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. So this is after the apocalypse has happened. It's based in the future when Canada is ravaged by climate change. And in it, because of climate change, the non-Indigenous people have lost their ability to dream, and they've been driven to madness. There's rampant mental illness. And so they are actually chasing down Indigenous peoples and capturing them for their ability to dream, because the ability to dream is contained in their bone marrow. So they get kidnapped and harvested. That's not descriptive. So it's a really cool book. It's really similar to The Hunger Games, The Giver, just a little bit more mature. I would not recommend this for kids the same age that are reading Hunger Games and The Giver, but for older students, absolutely. I'm very excited to go through that novel with my students. I love anything post-apocalyptic, dystopian, awesome. So much symbolism, and I love, again, there's a lot of imagery in it, so that's one of my favorite things to read. This is what I'm currently reading, and this is like, I would consider this like a palate cleanser. It's not much of a thinker. It's what you see is what you get. It's a thriller. There's not a lot of descriptive language. Something I like about it is there's references to literature throughout. Like there's allusions throughout it. References to Macbeth and different philosophers. So that's cool. But in this book, a woman, her daughter is kidnapped. And she receives a call that says you have to pay a ransom. And then before you get your kid back, you have to kidnap another kid. And so I'm halfway through the book right now, and I have found, it's a part 1, part 2. I'm finished part 1. To consider that question for myself, like what would I do if my child was kidnapped? And I was presented with that moral dilemma. I don't know. I'm not sure what I would do. But yeah, very interesting book. Not quite as much of a thinker as the others, but it's good. It's 7 out of 10 to me. These are books I plan to read soon. So I just bought these 3 today at the thrift store. I bought this because being a humanities teacher, I am always on the lookout for books and short stories and poems that fit into a certain historical time period and can be used as primary and secondary sources in our studies. So I saw this and I was like, yes, because I alternate between teaching Genocide 12, Social Justice 12, and 20th Century World History 12. Genocide 12 isn't coming up for a bit for me. I taught that last year, I think. Or no, year before that. Anyways, but it's coming up soon. And so I saw this and I thought, this looks great. We wish to inform you that tomorrow we will be killed with our families. Man, grab it. That title just grabs your attention. Stories from Rwanda. And then I didn't get a good look at it, but it's got like, I think it's interviews or like short stories sort of. So I'm looking forward to using that in my classes. I got the help because I've heard a lot about this book. Who knows, I might end up using it in my humanities class, you know, as sort of an upgrade to Kill a Mockingbird. I like to teach To Kill a Mockingbird when we do social justice, but this might be good too. So I might do that instead. I'm so excited about this. I've had a hold on this forever. I've heard so many amazing things about this book, and I got it for $1. And honestly, I don't even really know what it's about. I've just heard it's a life-changing read. It's pretty long. Honestly, I don't even know what it's about. I've just heard that I've got to read it. It's set during World War II, and yeah, what I loved most about the novel is the relationship between the sisters, Hannah's exploration of what we do in moments of great challenge. Do we rise to the occasion or fail? Are we heroes or cowards? this looks interesting. So I can't wait to read that. These ones, so I love to read novels that Netflix shows are based on. You might have noticed that. And I'm so looking forward to these. Apparently, a lot of people don't like this book and didn't like the show. I loved the show. So this is about a family that goes to an Airbnb on vacation, and then there's an EMP attack, presumably. Something happens. It's about them making sense of it. And then the former owners, or the owners, show up, and they end up staying at the house together. It's so cool because it doesn't give a ton of details about what happens and doesn't give answers like the show doesn't. But it gives you the experience of what it would be like to be there in that moment and questioning what's going on. I'm looking forward to reading this. Apparently it's very wordy. I love wordy books though. I love imagery. I love big words being incorporated because I like to learn from what I read. So I will read that eventually. I bought it at Christmas actually, but I've been distracted by other books. So I find when I buy books, they end up getting pushed to last because I go through library books first and then Kindle Plus because I pay for that monthly. And then, yeah, this books that I buy will be coming soon. I couldn't find this in the library or on Kindle or Kobo or anything, so I just bought the book. Looking forward to this, The Silence. It's a Netflix movie about some creatures that are unearthed, like cave creatures, and they are hypersensitive to sound and they start attacking people. So it's not the same as A Quiet Place. This book was out before A Quiet Place came out. So if anything, A Quiet Place ripped this off. I'll read the back here. In the background of an underground cave system, blind creatures hunt by sound. Then there is light, there are voices, and they feed. Swarming from their prison, the creatures thrive and destroy. To scream, even to whisper, is to summon death. Deaf for many years, Allie knows how to live in silence. Now it is her family's only chance of survival. To leave their home, shun others, find a remote haven where they can sit out the plague. So, there's a little sampling of what I have been reading. So, I hope today's sort of different video was interesting for you to view, get a kind of taste of what I've been enjoying reading lately. Obviously, my favorite genres are dystopian, apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic. I like thrillers. I like thrillers that have a little bit of a twist to them, like The Chain. I basically just like anything that teaches me a little bit about human nature. So I don't really like romance. I like some historical fiction, depending on how it's written. I like memoirs sometimes, but mostly I just absolutely love the dystopian genre. I like some sci-fi, love apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. My all-time favorite books would have to be Brave New World, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Road, and A Time to Kill by John Grisham. Those are all, they're not all dystopian. A couple of them are, and then The Road is just like, wow. It's an intense book if you decide to read that. Time to Kill is a legal thriller, but it still pushes you to think about human nature. So that's why I love that one. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.